Are you afraid of people not liking you anymore? I mean, what happens if you lose all of your friends because you stopped being nice? There is a difference between being nice and being kind. There is a difference between being a bitch and commanding respect. And for a very long time, I was the nice girl. I was the sweet, demure, accommodating one. And it got me stomped on. In fact, today, I'm actually going to share with you something I was reading at the beach today while waiting for my dear friend and adopted grandfather. Because I even shared this with him from the perspective of what we basically as women put up with. And we got into a great discussion about it. But I can't get into all of that here. But here is what happens to the nice girl. And believe me, I was waiting for the payoff. I was waiting for the moment where she snaps, and it didn't show up in this. But it's in this chapter of this book, Rage Becomes Her. It's awesome. I've already been diving deep, and I'm like, ooh, even the first few chapters are really good. And it's all about why our rage, especially as women, is powerful. And why men need to stop policing our anger and behavior, essentially, and start recognizing that there is power in our anger and there is wisdom in their control. But here is what happens typically, and I'll share a little bit about my own journey as well. But here's the passage. It's in chapter 1 called Mad Girls. Each morning in preschool, my daughter constructed a tall and elaborate castle out of blocks, ribbons, and paper, only to have the same classmate, a little boy, gleefully destroy it. Over a period of several weeks, one or the other of the boy's parents, both invariably pleasant, would step forward after the fact and repeat any number of well-worn platitudes as my daughter fumed. He's just going through a phase. He's such a boy. He just loves destroying things. And my personal favorite, he just can't help himself. Over time, my daughter grew increasingly frustrated and angry. But my daughter didn't yell, kick, throw a tantrum, or strike out at him. First, she asked him politely to stop. Then she stood in his way, body blocking him, but gently. She built a strong foundation so her castles would be less likely to topple. She moved to another part of the classroom. She behaved exactly how you would want someone to behave if she was following all the rules about how to be a nice person. It didn't work. For weeks, his parents never swooped in before he took apart her building. They only commented afterward. Like many parents, I followed an unspoken rule about not disciplining other people's children. In the meantime, I imagined his mother and father thinking, because they often did their thinking out loud, what red-blooded boy wouldn't knock it down? It was so tempting. She was building a glittery tower in a public space. He was a boy who couldn't control himself, and being a boy, had violent inclinations. Besides, ultimately, wasn't she responsible for keeping her building safe? It's not like she made a big fuss when he knocked it down, so she mustn't have cared that much. As a matter of fact, she did what studies show is common among girls this age. Angry school-age girls tend not to vent, but instead to dig in and find ways to protect their interests quietly. Now, this is the part where I was very disappointed because, see, growing up, I was the sweet, nice girl. I'm also a Scorpio. We can be super sweet and nice, but you know our reputation. Watch out for that stinger. And there were points when I had just put up with so much that my fire came out. Now, as you go deeper into this book, they also talk about how the sweet little girl eventually becomes the belligerent teenage girl, that it's like, what happened to my sweet little angel? Well, what happened is she got fed up, saw the injustice, realized that things weren't working, and she's ranting and railing. But we don't like to talk about that, do we, in our society? No, we want everybody to be nice. Well, the cost of being nice is that the people who are continuously tearing apart your tower need to be put in their place. If your boundaries are not being respected because you're recognizing that they're doing a behavior and maybe they can't help it, but if you are setting a boundary with them and they are continuously attacking that boundary and stepping over it and nobody's doing something about it, well, I mean, if I was that little girl at that age, or if I was just thinking about what my daughter would do in that situation after trying everything, I know exactly what my daughter would do. She would pick up one of those blocks, and the second that boy got close to her tower again, she would have picked up one of her blocks and she would have said, "No!" And she would have thrown it right at his head. And there probably would have been a dent. There might even be blood. And then my daughter would probably be admonished, and I would get a call from the school, and they'd say, you know, your daughter just decided to throw a block at a boy's head. But we often don't see what was provoked. We often don't recognize that. And with my children, I have a boy and I have a girl. And from the moment my son was born, I would not allow any "he's just a boy, he can't help himself" crap. Like, I would not put up with that. I was like, no, you are going to respect boundaries. And I know that society has kind of made it so that you don't think you have to, but here you have to. And my daughter, if she is provoked, I'm not going to police her behavior either. I'm not going to say, okay, no, you can't get mad at your brother, he can't help himself. No, I'm going to be like, look, your brother was being a jerk. I understand that. And you've set a boundary and he stepped over it. At the same time, you really can't throw a shoe at him. Yes, she's thrown shoes at him. And you know what? When I would get really mad at people, I threw shoes or anything else that I could get a hold of. If I got to my limit, I would throw things. And sometimes when I got to my limit and I couldn't hurt others, I would go into my room and I would trash my room. But one thing I learned about anger is it can be really, really destructive, especially when it gets to that point. I mean, there was a point in the dissolution of my relationship with my ex where I was smashing mason jars. I had found a jar of like old peaches. I didn't want to clean them. And I'm like, I need a symbol to deal with my rage. And I can't lash out at my partner because he is basically, he's bigger than me. If I lash out at him, I don't know what he's going to do. As women, we are always tracking to see. It's like, if I provoke this man, he could kill me. I don't want to provoke this man. Like, we're constantly tracking for that. And with our kids, we don't want to hurt them either. Our anger, we've got it, it has to go somewhere. So the thing about being nice, though, is that you keep tolerating the behavior over and over and over again until you snap. And then they're like, whoa, where did that come from? And you can hurt somebody that you didn't mean to hurt. All because you're tolerating that abuse. But I know what you're saying. It's like, well, what if I say no and they don't like my no and they stop talking to me? They don't want me anymore. Like, there's always that fear. We have that fear because we need to be liked. Nice equals being liked. We've been taught this. I need to be nice. I need to keep saying it nicely. But if you keep saying it nicely and nothing is changing, there are two possible reasons for that. One, they know exactly what they're doing. They don't care. They're just trying to see where that limit is, and they're going to keep pushing you over it. And then when you blow up, they're going to be like, I don't know what I did wrong. There was fine before, but you've reached your limit. And they were just trying to see how much they could get from you before you snapped. The other possibility is they love you. They have their own shadows. They don't see just how damaging their behavior is. Or even if they're a little bit of aware of it, they don't know how to fix it. They're afraid. There's something that they are working through. And if you continue to be nice and keep letting them play out that pattern, they're not going to grow. So then the second question is well, if you put up that boundary with those people and you're like, you know what? That's it. I'm not putting up with this behavior anymore. I love you, but I'm not, we're not doing this. This pattern that we're doing, it's not happening anymore. I am not going to allow you to keep coming in here and basically doing crumbs or doing something that is out of integrity, that is causing me pain, and it's I can't do that anymore. If you want to be in connection with me, the price has been raised. You got to step up. I mean, with my friends and family and other romantic connections even, I have really done a lot over the last 4 years to raise my prices of what I will really accept in my life. And I have criteria. Do you add value to my life in the form of, can I come to you with something that is hurting me and trust that you are going to be in integrity with that and you're going to work towards changing that behavior if you want to stay in connection with me? Can I trust you with my heart? Are you also a trampoline for my dreams and success? Are you cheering me on? Even if I do something that's I'm not at that level yet, but I can cheer you on. Because the friends I have in my network now, some of them make a whole lot more money than me. Some of them are a lot more enlightened than I was at the start. Some of them have more education than me, more status than me. And at the same time, even as they're going off and doing these amazing things that I'm not at that level yet, but I'm working towards that level, they are pulling me up with them. So you want people that are at a high level, higher than where you're at now, so you know where the map is to elevate. And they have to want to pull you up with them. And you have to be able to cheer them on. So there's that level. It's are these people high level and are they going in a direction I want to go? That's criteria number 1 for being my friend. Are you at a high level and are you going to pull me up with you and clap for my successes and I'm going to clap for yours and I'm going to add value to you? Criteria number 2. If you're at my level, are we continuing to grow together and expand our conscious view and keep going for those next levels? Because if you're one of those people that are we're on the same level, but if I get higher, you're not going to hate me for it. You're not going to resent me. You're going to be clapping for me. And same thing, if you go before me, I'm going to be clapping for you and I'm going to keep rising with you. Are you at that level? And the final criteria, even if you can't get to my level, I still love you. I still support you. But can you be happy for me? Can you truly be happy for me without any undermining or saying things that's well, who does she think she is? Or saying that about my friends that are at the higher levels, digging into people and trying to tear people down. If you're one of those people that's trying to tear others down, sorry, there's no more connection until you can get past that. And that's the thing, is like when you are getting to your growth, you're going to be tested with those people. Now, there's different names for them, but I look at it as, if you've got someone in your circle, whoever it is, they're either going to be nice to your face and nasty to your back, or nasty to your face and nasty to your back. And they, like, one is they're just nasty. You can tell they're haters. And then there's the other ones that are fake and say that they support you, but then they talk about you and try to tear you down to their level. Those ones, no, you got to set the boundary. Then there's the ones as well that they recognize that they have room to grow. They can't get to where you are right now. They can see that. Now, in that case, they can either work on themselves so that they can get up to your level and they're inspired by you, or they resent you because you're no longer at their level and they don't want to do the work. Again, you want the people who love you to your face and behind your back, because those are the ones that are supporters. So out of the ones that love you to your face and behind your back, are they also willing to do the work to keep in that higher level connection with you? Or do you only see them occasionally? Because you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. And I talk about this more inside my book, and in all of my channels, I talk about it as the right support. If you're going to go to the next level or change something about yourself to be more in line with who you are and to be more authentic in your connections, then you are going to have those people who either can't meet you where you're at because they haven't done the work yet, but they want to and they're inspired by you, or the ones that have to fall away because honestly they weren't meant to stay. They really weren't meant to stay, and they can't clap for you. If your circle of friends are not clapping for you to your face and behind your back, you can still love them. You can still lovingly support them. You can still hold that space for them to come back in when they're ready to meet you at the higher level. And even if they don't, you don't hold it against them. You still love them. You still are cheering for them. But they have to do the work. Now, if they really didn't love you in the first place, if they only ever liked what they got from you, they're gone. Because they're no longer getting for free. If that little boy in that story I told, if all he wanted to do was knock over this little girl's tower, and he doesn't actually want to play with this little girl, he doesn't want to be friends with this little girl, he just wants to tear her down, because maybe there's something about those parents that are enabling that because they have their own issues, and that little boy needs an outlet, and he's actually angry, and he's taking it out on this little girl who's got this sparkly tower, because like that can happen. He's actually wounded, and he's not getting his needs met, so he's acting out so that he can get attention. Now, that little girl does not have to take that crap. And that little girl can absolutely stand up for herself. She deserves to stand up for herself. And if that little boy wants to be her friend, and he just didn't know how to express it properly, well, he can learn how to do that. And maybe he apologizes for tearing down her tower. And maybe she's like, you know, you can't keep tearing down my tower. I know that you're hurting, and I know you really wanted to knock down that tower, but here, I'll build up this tower for you, or you can build a tower yourself. I'll show you how to do it. but you can't keep tearing down mine. I'm going to build my tower as high as it is, and maybe yours isn't that magnificent to build and you knock it down before it gets there, but it's your tower. You do your thing. And maybe that little boy also, if he really likes that little girl, he's going to do the work. In the context of relationships, it's like if I set a boundary and what if they never change? I love them so much. What if they never change? What if they never come back? Here's the thing. Live your life. Love them. Make peace with the fact that they're just not there yet. That they have patterns, that they have behaviors that have hurt you. And they've hurt people that you love, and you can't do that anymore. You don't need to go back down to that level. Instead, know this. And I can actually share a personal story here, because when I was a little girl, I used to be very angry with my mom. Hi, Mama. I'm sharing a little bit of personal stuff here. You know now that I forgive you and I love you and everything, and I honor you, and I get what was going on, because at the time that I was angry, a lot of stuff had happened. My parents, they were not a good fit. And I had grown up watching them fight from the time I was really little to when they finally got the divorce when I was 6. So I had seen them fight, and I had seen my mom leave, and I had seen my mom start to work on herself. Now, as a single mother, I now understand about working on yourself and reclaiming your identity when everybody around you had told you had to be something else. And I mean, my mom had a lot of that. And she also loved learning from this, they call it the self-help industry, but I call it personal development and growth. And we share love of books, but a lot of people in her life at the time had been making fun of her for it. And so when I had that interest, I kind of hid it, because I was like, okay, this is something about me and my mom, but it's also frowned upon. And there was a lot of things that my mom and I really do have in common that at the time I was also very angry, because I had coded her need to go and reclaim herself and parts of herself and set boundaries when she hadn't learned how to do that. I recognize now that she always loved me. Always. And she was always proud of me. And the things that she was kind of not allowed to do when she was a little girl, that she had been punished for, that she'd been told girls don't do, or nice girls don't do that, she had inadvertently put that shame on me that was never supposed to be mine. And by doing that, I felt that I wasn't good enough. When really, she just wanted to protect me. She just wanted me to have the most extraordinary life. She saw so much for me. And she was also deeply hurt and traumatized by society and what she'd been taught. And when she had done those things and told me those things, I had coded it as I wasn't enough. And I was so angry with her when I was 7 years old. My daughter's now 8, so it's around the same thing, and we've kind of come full circle. And I've watched my daughter, and I've thought about how I was when I was a little girl, just looking for my mom's approval and not seeing that I didn't think I was getting it. So at that point, at 7 years old, I'm like, my mom doesn't love me. My mom doesn't care about me. No matter what I do, it's not good enough. So I don't need a mother. But when I slammed that door and locked my mother out of my heart, I wounded a part of myself that I wouldn't acknowledge for a number of years. And here's what would happen. And this is why I say, if you set a boundary with someone and they code it as you don't love me, and they try to lock you out of their heart, here's what typically happens. What happened with me, I couldn't watch Dumbo anymore. My absolute favorite animated movie from childhood. I couldn't watch it. And the reason I couldn't watch it was because when Mrs. Jumbo is rocking Dumbo in her little trunk and they start playing Baby of Mine, I would sob inconsolably every time. No matter how much I'd say to the outside world, my mother doesn't love me. I don't need a mother. I'm perfectly fine on my own. It's fine. When Dumbo would come on, I would be crying. Because all I wanted was my mother. The idealized version of my mother, the one that was not wounded, the one that could hold me, the one that I eventually became for my children, although I probably have made some mistakes there too, but my kids know mom is human. And that's the thing, is that I wanted to do something different by showing, like, yeah, mom makes mistakes and I'm going to own my mistakes. I'm not going to gloss over my mistakes. I'm going to own my mistakes. Because instead of feeling that as an attack on me and saying, oh no, I'm not a good mother, I'm like, no, I am a good mother. I do love my kids. And if they are seeing something that I'm doing as not coded as love and they're being hurt by it, I want to know. I want to know that I've hurt them so that I can work on that. And even if I can't work on it right away, I can own it and I can validate it and I can tell them, yeah, you're right. I'm hurting you. I'm working on it. I'm working on myself. Instead of just being like, well, I guess that's just the way I am. And obviously if you can't be with me, then you don't love me and we can't be together. Like, I just can't have that relationship with you ever. And no. I believe everyone deserves to be loved in this world. And everyone deserves a second chance and even a third chance. But it has to come from a place of truly understanding, do you love this person even if they never change? And even if they never, ever change and they never, ever apologize and they never, ever rise up to that level, do you still, when you see those reminders of them, do you still look on that fondly and be like, yeah, I love them so much? And if they reached out to me and told me they were sorry and truly meant it and stopped doing the thing that was hurting and started following the criteria that I now have for being in my life and rising to that level, and I have my expectations of what it takes to be in connection with me in different levels. Obviously, my true love partner, it's got to be commitment. It's got to be all in. I am not settling for anything less than the most extraordinary man who can be my sanctuary for my heart and a trampoline for my dreams, who I truly believe in and can stand for. We have that intellectual connection. We have that emotional connection. We have the physical chemistry, because you know what? I'm sorry, but I am a warm-blooded woman who has needs, and I am not going back into a marriage where the chemistry fizzles out. I want that passion. I want the entire triangle that Sternberg talks about for true love. I want it all. Body, mind, soul connection. The most conscious, powerful love. True love for my highest self. And I know exactly who that person is. I know exactly what he is capable of. And even though it's probably absolutely terrifying, I know he can do it because I believe in him. When you have that level of connection with someone, you know that they can get past this. They can actually rise up. They didn't do this because they hate you. They didn't do this to use you. They're just doing it because they were in their wounding and maybe they didn't understand what was going on. But if they have their own fears, that's their thing. Clean up your side. So, I mean, in the case of my true love, he knows now. Maybe beforehand I wasn't making it quite clear that there was only him and I was not going anywhere else. And no matter what he did, I would always love him. And even if I couldn't be with him, I would always love him. And like, that's it. And there's a lot of fire. And there's a lot that, like, he knows what he can get now. And there's a price for that. And my family and friends who have bathed in my light and know how amazing and loving I am and how giving and kind and inspirational I am, they also know just how much they would lose. So the thing is, when you are authentic, when you are genuine, and when you command respect for yourself and hold those boundaries in place, but keep the door open for them to come in a higher version of themselves when they're ready, you don't lose people. People lose you. Users and haters and people who were only in it for a good time, they lose you. Did you lose anything? No, you weren't getting anything out of it. All they were doing was taking. They weren't giving you anything. They were faking their love. They didn't love you. That girl that pretended to be your friend in high school and in elementary school, like those ones, they only liked you as long as you were feeding their ego. But behind your back, they were snickering and tearing you down because really they were intimidated by you. And they wanted you to also be taken down a peg because they felt bad about themselves. And those boys who maybe they were like secretly crushing on you, but then they'd make fun of you because they had some sort of bro code where it's like, oh, I know I can't get her. I know she's out of my league. I know I'm not even slightly as intelligent as her. I've got nothing to the table. But if I maybe chip away at her self-esteem, then she will stop thinking so high and mighty of herself, and then I'll be able to get her because she'll have lower self-esteem. But that same girl who takes a look at that boy when she's in high school and she's like, you're not even on my level, you're an idiot, and she puts him in his place, well, now suddenly she's, and then she gets the reputation of being a ball breaker. And then nobody wants to date her because she's a ball breaker. But really, she's the most loving, beautiful person who has such a beautiful, pure heart and just wants to have her prince. But eventually she starts to think that maybe that doesn't work for her. Maybe she's not good enough, and she starts to get that mother wound again, and she starts to have all those feelings, but she doesn't address them till she has quite a few more lessons. And then she finally sees it. So, I mean, that's the thing. If I was to have stood up to those people and not felt like I needed to be liked, to be loved, it wouldn't have bothered me. I would have been like, yeah, whatever. Oh, you don't like me? Because I stood up for myself? Oh, you don't like me because I'm not giving you this thing you want? Oh, you don't like me because I'm not hanging out with you this weekend because I actually need to take care of myself? I just have to keep giving and giving and giving, and the second I don't give or I ask for something, like you're going to get offended by it that I dare ask because you're used to getting? No, you don't want those people. But you do always love the ones that did bring value to your life. And you do have those memories, and you do love them. And they love you. And there might just be pride or ego or this belief that you don't love them, and they're hurt. And they need to get past their hurt and see the love. And that takes everybody their own time. So your job is to keep your heart open and keep the doors open. I mean, in the case of my true love, he's locked all his, but they're locked on his side. And I know that he's doing that because he needs to work on whatever he needs to work on. And if I go and have a moment of just a little bit of weakness, because I do miss him so much. I miss him so much. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't think of him. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't hear songs and think of him and see things that remind me of him and have conversations with people and be like, I wish I could have you beside me. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't have like something amazing that happens. And it's like, I wish he was there beside me clapping. And in my mind, he is there. But he's got to be ready. And until he's ready, I can't chase him. I mean, he locked all the doors, and I respect that he's locked the doors. If he's locked the doors, it means he's got some stuff he needs to work on. And maybe it's a surprise, and I don't know. Maybe he's like, I'm doing this because you can't distract me from my goal, and you are very, very distracting. I mean, I'll own that. If that's it. I like surprises. But, you know, I also am getting a little eager. And it's been a while. So I really hope the surprise is ready soon. But, you know, I wouldn't dream of ruining a surprise. No way. I mean, from what I know of what he's capable of, it could be a really, really good surprise. And if I spoiled it, well, that would be kind of a disappointment to him because I spoiled his fun. And I will also own that I am a very, very good distraction from working on things that need to be worked on. And I mean, we can always have a conversation about that and the boundaries. I mean, I do the same thing with my friends. I'm like, look, I love you very much. And right now, it's just not a good time because I have this, this, and this on my plate. And I need to focus on this. But I do love you. And I've communicated that because I'm a busy girl. I've got an empire to build and I've got my kids to raise, and I'm also focusing on myself. And when I get those connections coming in from friends that I haven't talked to in a while, I prioritize that. But, you know, my true love will be at the top of the priority list after myself. So it'd be myself, my true love, and my kids, and my business, and then friends, and then everybody else is scattered around there. And I make time. Because that's the other thing. People who are meant to be in your life, there are two kinds. Again, first of all, the ones that fit you into their schedule wherever they can, and they're like, you know, well, okay, you can go and see me here. And the other ones that love you, and they might have other things on their plate, but they will suddenly make time because they love you. And maybe it still might not be right away. I mean, they're not going to drop everything. But damn straight, they're going to find the first available spot, or they're going to move something, they're going to drop something to fit you in. Particularly if it was, say, I got a message from my true love and he said he wanted to see me, I would absolutely clear things. I mean, it's not like I haven't already set time blocks during certain days and certain weeks and certain weekends where I have kind of left it open and still done my own thing, still had my backup contingency plan. But if he suddenly messaged me, I would be like, you know what? Yeah, let's do this now. You're ready. You know, and I do the same with family, and I pay attention, and if somebody reaches out to me, I will make time. for the people that matter. The ones that, even if they haven't talked to me in a while, I make time for those I love. So, stop being nice. Stop being super, super accommodating. Stop peacefully trying to settle something when it's clear that that is not working. Set a strong boundary, and if you have to remove yourself completely and state your expectation and be like, here is the price of admission to access to me, do it. I mean, I even do this in my business. The price for access to me is steep. You also have a series of criteria to apply to get on a call with me to even see if working together with me would be appropriate. You need to be in my community and in connection with me for me to give you my energy. And I have 3 paths with that. The free path. Okay, you can follow me. You can glean all of my magnificence on all my channels. This goes for my personal and for my professional life. Like in my business, I've got a free path. And in my personal life, I've got Instagram, I've got Facebook. If you don't have the ability to connect with me, that's fine. You're still getting my light because I'm sharing it over the social media. However, if you're going to say negative, nasty things about me or my friends, or indicate that you are spying on me to get information to continue to tear me down and talk down to me, you don't get access to my social media anymore. Because I'm not here to be gossip material. That's not what I do. I block people when they have shown that they are misusing my platform. Next path, of course, for working with me, like professionally, well, I've got courses and I've got books. Personally, you send me a message, you say, hey, do you have time? If I have time, I'll make time. But priority goes to myself, my true love, my children, my very, very closest, dearest friends, that if they said, hey, I really, really need you right now, I will make time. My soul family, I call them. The friends that have become like family. Because family isn't just blood. But also family too. If certain family members that I really do have close, tight ties with reached out, yeah, I make time for them as well. But they've got to reach out. I no longer have time to sit there and sift through and remember who I talked to last and how long it's been. The onus is on them now. And finally, the last path of me being super expensive, well, that is reserved for the true love. Really it is. Because that is, there's only one commitment. There's only one spot. And it's reserved. So, any boys watching, sorry boys, it's not me. But if you are inspired by what I'm saying, and I am a blueprint for your dream girl, there's she's out there. So keep looking. But I already know who mine is. Also, women choose, men display. So make sure you're being your full authentic self. No masks. That's the same thing for attracting your friends, your soul family. The family that's like friends. No masks. All right? So, with that being said, I'm going to go back to reading this book because it's awesome. I'm probably going to spend some time watching House of the Dragon because there's one episode that I didn't get to watch during the week because the kids were home. I might go back and check out my old videos that I have on my Facebook and on my Instagram. In fact, I'm building a YouTube channel right now. So if you're loving these, eventually they will be on a channel called Carly Uncensored. But that isn't ready yet. So you can't find any videos yet because I haven't set it up, but that's where all of my videos will be so that more people can get my light, more family and friends, and also people that just need that boost, because I am here to make the world a more magical, brighter place. I'm here to shine my light because who knows how long I have here. And ultimately, I want to have an archive, because this is the other thing. I do these videos for me, and I also do them for the people I love most. Because if something ever did happen to me, I want them to be able to have an archive that they can go back into any time that they need to have a dose of my love or my wisdom or something I said that inspired them to re-inspire them to keep going for their dreams. I do not want people to be sad and lost when I leave this earth. I want my legacy to live on, and this is how I do it. I'm doing it through my speech, and I'm doing it through my stories, and I'm doing it through my books and my writing, and this is what I want to leave behind. So, even when I'm gone, and my children are old and gray, and they're talking to their grandchildren, and they're like, what was my great-grandmother like? Because she was a badass, and she did a lot of things, and like she's a legend in the family. But the kids have never met her, because I'm gone. They can pull out my videos on whatever platform, and they can say, this is what she was like when she was in her 30s. This is what she was like when she first got started. This is the words of wisdom that she imparted. And there'll be a whole lot of it over the years. They can go back. And my children can go back and see their mom from when they were young. And they can be like, that was my mommy. And I know she loved me, because she shared all the time about how much she loved me. And I have proof that my mother was extraordinary. And really, isn't that why we keep photographs? Isn't that why we hold on to old heirlooms and antiques and things, but then a fire happens and those things are gone? I learned a really painful lesson back in 2019. I had all my pictures and all my videos of my kids stored on my computer, but they weren't all stored online on platforms. Instead, they were melted. All I have left of the pictures of my kids from that time and the videos are what I shared on Facebook. So now I've been very intentional to scatter my message everywhere. And if there's a new platform that comes up, I might move my videos to a new platform, because I want it to endure. No matter what happens, I want it to endure. I want there to always be a copy somewhere that they can have access to. Because once the memory is gone and you're gone, it's like Coco. When they said, it's like the last person who remembers who you were when you were alive and passing on the stories, once they're gone, you no longer exist. Your memory is gone. Your legacy is gone. So it's important to remember people who were important to you and to share those stories. And that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. So, yeah. If you want to truly be remembered, you don't want to be liked. You don't want to be nice. You want to be respected. You want to inspire. And you want to do everything from a place of authenticity and genuine love for the world. and stop caring what people think, because the right people will be attracted to your message. And do the work, because the ones that you want pulling you up to your next level are going to expect you to do the work. I mean, being in connection with my friends at those higher levels, they will tell me when I need to rise up. And they will do it in the most loving way possible, and they lovingly kick my ass. And I love them for it. I don't make them wrong for it. I don't get angry when they do it. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. I can be better than this. And you see it. You see my next level. You love me. I'm like, yes, I love you, and I'm standing for your highest self. It's like, I love you too, and I'm standing for your highest self. And I can see a level above where you're already at. So go get it. Because I'm cheering for you the whole time. No matter what. I just love them. So, yeah. Anyway, now I really am going to go. I love you. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.